subscribe.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video where we dive once again into the fantastic world of dinosaurs. We'll do this to learn about many different species. Let's open the box to start looking at them. Let's see. And look, we have the box full of dinosaurs. Also, I love the figures because they're the soft kind that we can squish and stretch. Let's take them all out to learn their names and their characteristics. Let's see which one comes out first. And it looks like we have a big herbivorous dinosaur. This time, it's called Kentrosaurus. As you can see, it is characterized by having large bony plates on the top of its body and a tail full of big spikes. It looks a lot like the Great Stegosaurus since it's from the same family, but actually they are different species. The main difference is that the Stegosaurus had 4 spikes at the tip of its tail, while the Kentrosaurus had its tail full of spikes. To be able to defend itself from all those who tried to eat it, the bony plates also served as a method of defense. If a predator came to bite it, these bony plates would prevent it, making it easier to escape. Additionally, the Kentrosaurus had a large spike on each of its sides. Its head is very small compared to the rest of its body, and it has 4 large legs, with the back ones being stronger and more robust. It lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, more than 55 million years ago. Let's move on to the next one. And we have another herbivorous dinosaur. This time, it's one of my favorite herbivores. It's the great Parasaurolophus, known for the horn it had on the back of its head. This horn was able to make sounds, and it used these sounds to communicate with the rest of the herd, especially when they felt threatened. For example, if a Tyrannosaurus Rex came to attack, they would start making sounds very similar to those of a trombone, and in this way, everyone could escape in time. In addition, it had a rather robust body. It's from the duck-billed family, the ones with a mouth shaped like the one we see in Parasaurolophus. Also, this specimen was able to walk both on all 4s and on 2 legs, putting all its weight on the back part, also using it as a counterbalance. It had a long tail and lived during the Cretaceous period, more than 65 million years ago. And we continue with another one. And it seems that this time we don't have a dinosaur. It's a prehistoric animal called Smilodon, also commonly known as the Saber-Toothed Cat. I hadn't told you, but the figures are incredible. We can experiment with different textures, since the inside is filled with cork balls, and we can also stretch it. As you can see, it has an impressive jaw with these gigantic fangs, the Saber-Toothed Cat or Smilodon. It lived in very cold areas where it was extremely cold, so its skin was very thick and its fur was very dense. That way, it could protect itself from the low temperatures. This animal has already disappeared, meaning it is an extinct animal. Let's continue with another one. Let's see. And it's about a large carnivore called Dilophosaurus. This dinosaur was one of the first large carnivores that existed and lived on planet Earth during the Jurassic period, about 200 million years ago. As you can see, it had crests on the top of its head, which, according to the latest research, were different in size and shape. Depending on whether they were male or female, they could be. It could reach about 9 meters in length when it became an adult, and measured approximately 2 meters tall. As you can see, it was bipedal. It was a type of theropod that walked on its hind legs, although the front legs were also quite long, with 3 strong claws that it used to grab meat or its prey and bring it to its mouth. Here's another one over here. I also like these figures because, as you can see, they stand upright. And let's continue with a different one. we have a dinosaur with a crown-shaped skull. It's from the family of the great Triceratops. This time we see some differences compared to the Triceratops, since the Triceratops had 3 strong horns. However, here we have the great Styracosaurus, which only had a small horn on the top of its nose. In addition, we can see that as a method of defense, it also had a bunch of gigantic spikes all around the outside of its skull. It was quadrupedal and smaller in size than the Triceratops. Here's another one over here. Let's continue with the next one. This is another type of armored dinosaur called an Ankylosaur. As you can see, its whole body was like a big suit of armor. Its skin was very thick, and it was also covered with all these big spikes, so it was almost unbreakable. It also had a big club or ball at the tip of its tail, which it swung from side to side to defend itself from predators. The Ankylosaurus was also called the armadillo of the Cretaceous, since the shape of its body is very similar to that of armadillos. And also it lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, more than 65 million years ago. And why is it called Ankylosaurus? Its head was also armored with several spikes on the sides. You can't see it in the figure, but it also had a strong beak that it used to dig in the ground in search of food. Shall we leave it here? We're creating a real Jurassic World, and now let's move on to a super predator. We have an impressive carnivore. Here. As you can see, these 2 horns on its head already reveal what kind of dinosaur it is. It's the great Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus gets its name from the horns on its head, since they look a lot like a bull's horns. Also, it was large in size and a giant among giants. It was bipedal and walked on its hind legs. Also, its head was gigantic, which is why the sides of its skull were flattened. This was a way to lighten the weight of its head. Also, dinosaurs this large had another way to lighten their weight. Some of their bones were hollow. That way, they could move more easily. Even so, they were very heavy dinosaurs, so they couldn't run much. Let's leave it here and see which one is next. And we still have many left inside the box. Now we have a type of flying reptile. Oops! Although the figure is a bit bent at the neck. Let's take a look at its main feature. We can see that it was a type of flying reptile with a very slim and slender body, which allowed it to fly at high speed. It's called Pteranodon. We know it's this type of dinosaur because of its distinctive beak, and also because of the horn it had on the back of its head. An interesting fact is that it had a large pouch underneath, very similar to that of pelicans, to be able to store food. The Pteranodon mainly fed on fish. Therefore, it always used to fly over seas and oceans, and with its strong claws, it held tightly onto rocks to be able to spot food. It had a long wingspan of more than 2 meters, and according to experts, its body was very similar to that of modern bats, but obviously of a gigantic size. It also lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, at the same time as some dinosaurs. Let's look at the next one. I really like this dinosaur. As you can see, it's feathered. Its whole body is covered in feathers. Can you guess what kind of dinosaur it is? Many of you might not know this, but it's a Velociraptor. Yes, friends, Velociraptors had feathers, according to the latest findings. We're used to seeing the Velociraptor depicted with scaly skin. But according to recent reports, it seems that it was a dinosaur that had feathers all over its body, especially on the back of its forelegs and on its tail, where the feathers were longer and fuller. As you know, Velociraptor was a carnivore much smaller than other large carnivores like T-Rex. It could reach about 2 meters in length, and it also had a very slim body, which allowed it to run at high speed. Its front legs were quite long and had 3 strong fingers, and it had claws on its hind legs. We also see a large claw that was characteristic of velociraptors. They also used it to immobilize their prey, and above all, to grab the meat and bring it to their mouths. The teeth weren't very long, but they were very sharp, which allowed them to sink them deeply into their prey. Here's another one. And this time we have the most famous dinosaur of all, one of the biggest predators that has ever existed on planet Earth. At 14 meters long, we present the great Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you can see, its front legs were very small compared to the rest of its body. Actually, it could run at a speed of about 60 kilometers per hour, but obviously only for a very short period of time, since its body was very heavy. That's why, in order to hunt, it was best to hide among the bushes or in the vegetation and wait for some prey to come by. When it was in sight, that's when it would creep toward it, since it couldn't match the speed of other dinosaurs when running. So its tactic was to attack by surprise. We'll leave it here. And we only have a few animals left. Here we have the great Triceratops. Earlier we talked about the Styracosaurus, but here we have the Triceratops from the family of the ones with the big skull. With a crown-shaped frill, the Triceratops was one of the last to inhabit the Earth. It was also one of the largest, as it could reach about 9 meters in length. Its body was very similar to that of rhinoceroses, but much larger in size. It also had a strong beak at the tip of its mouth. As I mentioned earlier, it was common among herbivores that liked to dig in the ground in search of food, such as tough roots. And now we finished today's video. We've created a real dinosaur world, although actually all of them are dinosaurs except for 2. Here we have the flying reptile and also this prehistoric animal, the great Smilodon. If you like this video, you can help me by giving me a super like, a thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now, I'll say goodbye to you. See you in the next video with more amazing animals. Goodbye. Hello friends, welcome to Mundo Animal. Look, today I've got a mysterious box full of dinosaurs. Here on the cover, we can already see a big Tyrannosaurus Rex with its jaw wide open. Did you know that? The T-Rex's jaw had a total of 60 sharp teeth. Also today we will look at the book about dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals. You already know that I love using all these books to learn a lot of new things about all of them. And now, let's open our box to see all the dinosaurs hidden inside. Estas. And look friends, we have a lot of different figures. Some of them are hard and others are soft. Like, since this is a prehistoric animal, let's take them all out to learn their names and some of their characteristics. Let's see which one comes out first. And look friends, we have a very interesting animal. This is a prehistoric animal that no longer exists in our world because it became extinct many years ago. It was called a Smilodon or Saber-Toothed Cat. Also, I love the figure because it's super soft and we can stretch it. It's a monstrous saber-toothed cat. Actually, it was a type of feline that was quadrupedal and walked on all 4 legs, but here in this little figure, they've made it different. It looks very muscular, and as you can see, it has some impressive steel fists. What do you think if we look up information in Gran Libro de los Dinosaurios? On these pages, we can see some photographs, or rather a recreation of what they looked like. The saber-toothed cat. As you can see, they looked a lot like a big tiger, but they had these gigantic fangs. It tells us that it lived during the Pleistocene period and could reach a length of 1 meter. Obviously, it was a carnivorous animal, and also here we have information about its location. It was found in the United States, Brazil, and Argentina. Currently, a lot of fossil remains of this type of feline have been found, and we can see them in some natural histories museums around the world. Well, let's stop here and leave this prehistoric animal for now, and we'll continue with another type of dinosaur. Look, this time it's a large carnivore. It is called Carnotaurus because of the horns it had on its head, which are very similar to the horns of a bull. It was very large. It could reach about 9 meters from its mouth to the tip of its tail. In addition, it was a bipedal dinosaur that walked on its hind leg. Normally, the front legs were smaller in these dinosaurs, and they used them to grab meat and bring it to their mouths. Also, I love the figurine because it has an articulated jaw, revealing its sharp teeth. A curious fact about Carnotaurus is that its head was gigantic. That's why the sides were flattened to lighten its weight. We'll leave this big carnivore here. So let's see which one is next. Look, friends! We have a huge figure! Also, it's a large herbivorous styracosaurus, and it was also one of the most well-known since many fossil remains of its skeleton have been found. It's called Triceratops, and as you know, it was characterized by having a crown-shaped skull. But above all, it was very recognizable because of the 3 horns it had on its head. The 2 upper horns could reach almost a meter in length, while the 3rd horn was much smaller. In addition, it also had a strong beak, something characteristic of some herbivores. And look, the figurine comes with its transparent tongue. That's because I think this figure glows in the dark. Well, its eyes, horns, and I think its mouth light up. It also makes sounds. Let's see. Let's check how it works here. Wow! Oh. It moves its legs automatically and also lets out a big roar. Look, it walks on its own. What do you think, friends? Should we turn off the lights to see how the horns light up? And here it is. Let's bring it closer to see it better. As you can see, it lights up in different colors. Violet blue, red, orange, and green. And here it... Well, we'll leave it here because its roar was giving me a headache. Let's see which one comes out next. And look, it flies out of the box. It's a flying reptile. Let's look at its features to find out what kind of flying reptile it is. This time, we can see that it had a rather large wingspan. But what catches my attention the most is its large beak, and above all, this horn it had on the back of its head. That already tells us something. It means this is a Pteranodon. Also, this type of reptile mainly fed on fish. So it used to fly over rivers, seas, and oceans in search of food. Its wingspan was approximately 2 meters, and it also had 2 hind legs that allowed it to perch on surfaces. It had a large beak, and although we can't see it in this figure, it also had a pouch underneath, very similar to the pouch of pelicans. This way, it could catch fish and store them in the pouch under its beak. Super cool! Imagine this giant of the skies flying during the Cretaceous period with all the dinosaurs on land. Let's see which one comes out next. It looks like we have another very similar figure here. As you can see, these figures are held together with screws. Now we have a very famous carnivorous dinosaur. This is also a Velociraptor. They were dinosaurs that weren't too big compared to others. They could reach about 2 meters in length. It was characterized by having a super long tail that pointed upwards. And do you know what they used it for? To be able to change direction. Since their bodies were quite slim and thin, they could run pretty fast. And they used their tails to turn from right to left. Also, velociraptors hunted in packs or groups, which allowed them to catch large prey. And another very interesting fact about velociraptors is that, according to researchers, they had feathers, which was something very characteristic of them, even though in movies and representations they are usually shown without feathers. But in reality, they did have them. Another one over here. Let's see which one is next. Voila! We have a great herbivorous dinosaur, and also a very famous one. The great Stegosaurus, characterized by its large bony plates, with a large tail and 4 spikes at the tip, which it used defensively, swinging it from side to protect itself from predators. Also, I love this figure because it's one of the soft ones, and it seems like it has little cork balls inside. As you can see, its head was very small compared to the rest of its body. Also, its mouth was quite tiny too, since it only ate plants, leaves, grass, and fruit. As you can see, it was a quadruped, but its hind legs were much bigger than the front ones, so it had much more strength to swing its tail quickly. Let's leave it here, and I think we have 2 big carnivores left. Let's take out this figure first. As you can see, it's quite big, and I really like it because it has all the details. As you can see, it's an articulated figure. I love that. That way, we can put the dinosaur in different poses and positions, either raised up or even leaning toward the ground, making it look like it's eating. It's probably caught a large animal and is devouring it. As you can see, this dinosaur is a carnivore. It has a jaw full of sharp teeth, and if we open it, we can even see the detail of its tongue. It's called Giganotosaurus, a very large dinosaur. Also, its tail is articulated as well. It had a small crest of spikes that ran along the entire dorsal part of its body, all the way to the end of its tail. Also, its front legs had 3 rather strong fingers. In the book, we can see a fantastic illustration. Look, it seems that this great Giganotosaurus has just hunted an animal lying on the ground. We can also see other dinosaurs in the background and 2 flying reptiles. It tells us that the Giganotosaurus lived on planet Earth during the late Cretaceous period and could reach about 15 meters in length. Its fossil remains have been found in a very specific area of Argentina, and its name means the giant lizard of the south. And now, friends, I think we have the last dinosaur specimen left. It's another great carnivore. Perhaps the most famous one is the great Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you know, it has been one of the largest predators that has ever existed on planet Earth. We can see its jaw full of teeth. It had a total of 60 sharp, pointed teeth, some of which could reach up to 20 centimeters. It was a bipedal dinosaur, and its hind legs were super large and robust. Also, its tail was quite heavy, since it helped it maintain balance and acted as a counterweight because its head was too heavy. Just its skull could reach over a meter in length. Impressive. Also, in this little figure, there's something wrong because it has 3 fingers on its front legs, when in reality, the great Tyrannosaurus Rex only had 2 fingers, while its hind legs did have 3 strong claws. The Tyrannosaurus Rex lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous and could sometimes reach speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour, although, according to experts, only for a very short period of time, since its body was so heavy that it was hard for it to maintain that. And now, friends, we've finished today's video. Here, we have all the dinosaurs we've learned about. If you liked today's video, you can help me out by giving me a super like, a thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. and now it's time to say goodbye. I'll see you in the next video with more amazing dinosaurs. Goodbye, have a fantastic day!